Hello, beautiful soul. I'm Aurora, and welcome to Twin Flame Journey, a space where we explore the deeper meaning behind soul connections, divine timing, and the path that leads two hearts back to union. If you've been feeling the signs, you're in the right place.
For many people walking the spiritual path, the phrase twin flame union sounds like the ultimate happy ending. It is often imagined as the moment when everything finally falls into place. The years of separation end. The confusion dissolves. The pain disappears. Two souls find each other again, and life suddenly becomes peaceful, harmonious, and complete. In many ways, it is described almost like a spiritual fairy tale. Two people meet after a long and difficult journey. They recognize each other instantly. Every wound is healed. Every problem fades away. Love flows effortlessly, as if the universe itself has designed the perfect relationship. And then they live happily ever after. But what if that image is only part of the truth? What if the real meaning of twin flame union is far deeper, far more complex, and far more powerful than the simple fantasy we often imagine? Because the reality is this: union is not the end of the journey. In many ways, it is the moment when the real journey begins. The dream that many people carry. If you spend any time in spiritual communities, you will notice a common pattern. Many people are waiting for union. They imagine that when the reunion with their twin flame finally happens, their life will transform overnight. The loneliness will disappear. The emotional chaos will calm down. The spiritual lessons will finally be completed. And the relationship itself will somehow exist beyond ordinary human challenges. No misunderstandings. No conflicts. No struggles. Just pure love. This dream is powerful. It keeps people hopeful during long periods of separation. It gives meaning to painful experiences. It makes the difficult emotional process feel worthwhile. And there is nothing wrong with hope. But hope can sometimes become illusion. Because the truth about love, especially soul-level love, is not that simple. Why the fairy tale story exists. There is a reason why so many people believe that union will solve everything. Human beings naturally want resolution. We want a story to have a clear ending. We want to believe that suffering eventually leads to a moment where everything becomes easy. Movies tell us this. Romantic stories tell us this. Even many spiritual teachings unintentionally reinforce this idea. They focus on the moment of reunion as if it were the final reward. The long separation is the struggle. Union is the victory. But real life rarely works that way. Think about any meaningful achievement in life. Graduating from school does not mean learning ends. Starting a career does not mean work becomes effortless. Getting married does not mean relationships suddenly stop requiring effort. In fact, the opposite is usually true. The moment you reach something meaningful is often the moment when deeper responsibility begins. And the same is true for twin flame union. Union is not an escape from growth. One of the biggest misunderstandings about the twin flame journey is the belief that union eliminates growth. But the entire purpose of the journey is growth. The separation phase forces both individuals to confront their fears, their wounds, and their patterns. It pushes them to evolve emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically. It is intense because it demands transformation. So it would make little sense for the process to suddenly stop once union happens. Instead, union changes the form of the lessons. Before union, the growth often happens individually. After union, the growth begins to happen together. Two people who carry powerful emotional histories now have to learn how to build something real. And real relationships, no matter how spiritually connected they are, require awareness, patience, and maturity. The power of two strong souls. Another reason union can feel challenging is because twin flames are not weak individuals looking for someone to complete them. They are usually strong personalities. They have their own perspectives, their own wounds, their own desires, and their own paths. When two strong souls come together, the connection can be incredibly powerful. But power also requires balance. Imagine two powerful rivers meeting. The moment they merge, the water does not suddenly become calm. For a while, the currents may become even stronger. The flow becomes complex. The direction must be negotiated. Eventually, the rivers stabilize and form a larger, deeper current. But that process takes time. Relationships work in a similar way. Union does not erase individuality. Instead, it invites two individuals to learn how to flow together without losing themselves. And that requires awareness. Love that is conscious. The most beautiful aspect of twin flame union is not that it removes challenges. It is that it creates the possibility for conscious love. Conscious love is different from ordinary attraction. It is not built on fantasy. It is not based on emotional dependency. It is not sustained by the idea that one person will save the other. Instead, conscious love asks deeper questions. Can two people grow without trying to control each other? Can they communicate honestly, even when it is uncomfortable? Can they support each other's evolution without losing their own identity? Can they love each other not only during moments of harmony, but also during moments of difficulty? These questions do not belong to fairy tales. They belong to real relationships. And twin flame union, at its highest expression, is not about escaping reality. It is about learning how to live reality with a deeper level of awareness. A different kind of happy ending. So, if union is not the perfect fairy tale ending, what is it? In truth, it is something far more meaningful. It is the moment when two people who have done deep inner work finally meet each other as equals. Not as wounded individuals searching for rescue. Not as incomplete halves looking for completion. But as two whole individuals who choose to walk the path together. This kind of relationship is not effortless. But it is authentic. It requires communication. It requires emotional responsibility. It requires a willingness to keep growing. Yet the reward is something deeper than fantasy. Because instead of temporary perfection, it offers shared evolution. Instead of escaping life, it allows two people to face life together. And perhaps that is the real magic of twin flame union. Not the illusion of a perfect ending, but the beginning of a love strong enough to grow, change, and deepen with time. In the next chapter, we will explore a surprising truth that many people discover only after experiencing reunion. Union does not remove the lessons of the journey. In many ways, it reveals them even more clearly. Many people imagine that the moment twin flame union happens, the difficult part of the journey finally ends. They believe that the years of separation, emotional confusion, and inner transformation were the hardest chapters of the story. Union, in this view, is the reward, a peaceful place where everything finally makes sense. But for many twin flames, the reality feels very different. Because something unexpected happens after reunion. Instead of all the lessons disappearing, they often become even more visible. At first, this can feel confusing. Sometimes it can even feel disappointing. After everything the two individuals have already been through, it seems unfair that more growth is still required. Yet when you look deeper, there is a powerful reason for this. Union does not create new lessons. It simply reveals the ones that were already there. The mirror becomes stronger. The twin flame connection is often described as a mirror. Before reunion, that mirror works at a distance. You feel the emotional triggers internally. Old wounds appear through memories, dreams, synchronicities, or brief encounters. But when union occurs, the mirror becomes immediate. Now the reflection is standing right in front of you. Your twin flame may unknowingly trigger insecurities you thought you had already healed. Old patterns of communication may reappear. Hidden fears around intimacy, vulnerability, or trust can suddenly surface. And it may feel confusing because you might ask yourself, didn't I already work through this? In many cases you did. But healing is not always a single moment of realization. It is a process of learning how to live differently. And sometimes that can only be tested inside a real relationship. Healing alone versus healing together. There is a major difference between healing in isolation and healing within a relationship. When someone spends time alone during the twin flame separation phase, they often gain clarity about themselves. They learn emotional awareness. They understand their past wounds more deeply. But relationships create situations that cannot exist in isolation. Communication misunderstandings. Differences in expectations. Moments where one person feels vulnerable while the other feels overwhelmed. These situations are not signs that the connection is failing. In fact, they are often signs that the relationship is becoming real. Because real relationships bring our unconscious patterns into the light. And once those patterns become visible, they can finally be transformed. The illusion of perfect compatibility. Another common myth about twin flame union is the belief that twin flames are perfectly compatible in every way. People sometimes imagine that because the souls are connected, their personalities, habits, and lifestyles will automatically align. But souls may be connected while individuals remain very different. One person may prefer stability, while the other thrives on change. One may communicate directly, while the other needs time to process emotions internally. One may focus strongly on spiritual practices, while the other expresses spirituality through action and work in the world. These differences do not mean the connection is wrong. They simply mean that both individuals are still human. Union does not remove individuality. Instead, it asks two individuals to build harmony despite their differences. And that is where maturity becomes essential. The role of emotional responsibility. One of the most important lessons that often appears after union is emotional responsibility. During separation, it is easy to imagine that the other person holds the key to your happiness. Many people secretly believe that once they reunite with their twin flame, they will finally feel complete. But union quickly reveals a different truth. No one else can regulate your emotions for you. No one else can heal your inner wounds. No one else can carry your personal growth. Even within the deepest soul connection, each person remains responsible for their own inner world. This realization can be uncomfortable at first, but it is also incredibly empowering, because it shifts the relationship from dependency to partnership. Instead of two people trying to fix each other, they begin supporting each other's growth. A real-life example. Consider the story of Daniel and Maya. They spent nearly 8 years in separation. During that time, both went through intense personal transformations. They worked on their emotional patterns, explored spirituality, and gradually built stronger individual lives. When they finally reunited, the connection felt peaceful and deeply familiar. But after a few months, unexpected challenges appeared. Daniel struggled with opening up emotionally. Even though he loved Maya deeply, vulnerability still felt uncomfortable for him. Maya, on the other hand, had a strong desire for emotional transparency. When Daniel became quiet during difficult conversations, she sometimes interpreted it as distance. Old fears slowly resurfaced. For a moment, both wondered if they had misunderstood their connection. But instead of running away from the discomfort, they began communicating more honestly. Daniel learned to express feelings he had previously kept hidden. Maya learned to give space when emotions needed time to unfold. Over time, their connection became stronger, not because it was perfect, but because they were willing to grow together. Their union did not remove the lessons. It created the environment where those lessons could finally be lived. Growth through awareness. What makes twin flame union unique is not that it eliminates challenges. It is that both individuals are often more aware of the deeper purpose behind those challenges. Instead of seeing conflict as a threat, they begin to see it as information. Instead of avoiding discomfort, they ask deeper questions. What is this situation trying to teach us? What old pattern is appearing here? What part of ourselves still needs compassion and understanding? This level of awareness transforms ordinary relationship struggles into opportunities for growth. And that is where the true depth of the twin flame journey reveals itself. Why the lessons matter. If union were simply a moment where everything became easy, the connection would remain superficial. But when two people continue evolving together, the relationship becomes something much more powerful. It becomes a living process, a space where both individuals can become more authentic, more honest, more emotionally mature. In many ways, union is not about achieving perfection. It is about learning how to stay present with each other while life continues to unfold. And life will always bring change, new experiences, unexpected challenges, moments of uncertainty. The strength of a twin flame relationship is not measured by how smooth everything becomes. It is measured by the willingness of both people to face those moments together. A deeper kind of love. When the illusion of the fairy tale fades, something more meaningful appears. A deeper form of love. A love that is not based on fantasy or expectation. A love that understands both light and shadow. This love is patient. It does not demand perfection. It allows both individuals to remain human while still honoring the profound spiritual connection between them. And in many ways, this kind of love is far more beautiful than the fairy tale we once imagined, because it is real. In the next chapter, we will explore another important truth about twin flame union. Why true union requires both individuals to remain committed to their personal growth, even after they have found each other again. One of the most surprising realizations many people encounter after twin flame union is this. The journey of personal growth does not end when the reunion happens. In fact, in many ways, it becomes even more important. Before union, much of the focus is on individual transformation. Each person is pushed, sometimes painfully, towards self-awareness. Old wounds surface, patterns repeat, and life seems to present the same emotional lessons again and again. At the time, it may feel exhausting. Many people quietly tell themselves, once we finally reunite, this process will end. Things will finally become peaceful. But the deeper truth of the twin flame path is not about escaping growth. It is about learning how to continue evolving, even inside love. And that is a very different kind of relationship. The myth of arrival. Human beings love the idea of arrival. We imagine certain moments in life as destinations, a place where the effort stops and the reward begins. Finishing school, getting the dream job, finding the perfect partner. These moments feel like milestones that promise stability and certainty. Yet real life rarely stays still after we reach those milestones. Graduation leads to new responsibilities. Career success introduces new challenges. Marriage opens the door to a deeper emotional journey. The same pattern applies to twin flame union. Union may feel like a sacred milestone, but it is not the final chapter of personal evolution. Instead, it marks the beginning of a new phase, one where two people must grow not only as individuals, but also as partners. The responsibility of conscious love. In ordinary relationships, people sometimes fall into unconscious patterns. They blame their partner for their emotions. They expect the other person to fill emotional gaps. They rely on the relationship to create their sense of identity. But the twin flame journey slowly dismantles these patterns. It teaches a powerful truth. Love cannot replace personal responsibility. Even in the deepest soul connection, each individual must remain accountable for their own emotional state, their own healing, and their own growth. If one person stops growing while the other continues evolving, imbalance can slowly appear. Communication may become strained. Expectations may become unrealistic. The connection can feel heavy rather than expansive. That is why personal development remains essential even after union. Not as a burden, but as a commitment to the health of the relationship itself. Growth keeps the connection alive. Every meaningful relationship requires movement. When people stop learning, stop reflecting, and stop evolving, emotional stagnation can quietly appear. Conversations become repetitive. Old patterns return. Curiosity fades. But when two individuals continue growing, the relationship remains alive. They discover new perspectives. They support each other's dreams. They challenge each other to become more authentic versions of themselves. Instead of becoming stuck in routine, the connection becomes a shared journey of discovery. And this is one of the most beautiful aspects of twin flame union. It transforms love from a static experience into a living process, supporting each other without losing yourself. Another key lesson after union is learning how to support each other without losing personal identity. Sometimes people believe that deep love means merging completely. They imagine that two people must think the same way, make every decision together, and share every aspect of life. But healthy union does not erase individuality. Each person still carries their own passions, dreams, and life purpose. One twin flame may feel called to creative expression. The other may feel drawn to leadership or service. One may crave quiet reflection. The other may thrive through action in the world. These differences are not obstacles. In fact, they often create balance. The key is learning how to respect each other's paths while still nurturing the connection. When both individuals feel free to grow in their own direction, the relationship becomes stronger rather than restrictive. The courage to keep looking within. Perhaps the most powerful aspect of continued growth is the willingness to keep looking inward. Even after union, moments of tension or misunderstanding may still appear. When they do, the easiest reaction is often to blame the other person. But the twin flame journey encourages a different response. It asks a difficult but transformative question. What part of myself is being revealed here? Maybe an old fear of abandonment is surfacing. Maybe a need for control is becoming visible. Maybe an unhealed childhood wound is influencing the way we interpret a situation. These moments are not failures. They are invitations. They offer an opportunity to become more aware, more compassionate, and more emotionally mature. And when both partners approach challenges with this mindset, even difficult moments can strengthen the bond between them. Growing together through change. Life is never static. Over the years, circumstances shift in ways we cannot always predict. Careers change. Families grow. Dreams evolve. Personal priorities transform. A relationship that lasts through time must be flexible enough to grow alongside these changes. Twin flame union does not freeze life into a permanent moment of harmony. Instead, it creates a partnership capable of adapting. Two people continue learning how to support each other through new chapters of life. They celebrate successes. They navigate uncertainties. They adjust their expectations when life moves in unexpected directions. And through all of this, the connection deepens. Because shared growth builds trust. The difference between fantasy and real love. At the beginning of the twin flame journey, many people imagine love as something magical but effortless. They picture a connection so perfect that conflict never appears. But real love is not defined by the absence of challenges. It is defined by how two people respond to them. Do they close their hearts when difficulty arises? Or do they stay present, communicate honestly, and keep growing together? Twin flame union invites the second path. It asks both individuals to remain awake inside the relationship, to stay curious about themselves and about each other, to treat love not as a finished story, but as a living practice. The gift of shared evolution. When two people remain committed to their personal growth, something remarkable happens. Their individual evolution begins to influence each other. One person's courage inspires the other. One person's healing creates space for deeper understanding. One person's self-awareness encourages more honest communication. Slowly, the relationship becomes a powerful environment for transformation. Instead of limiting each other, they elevate each other. And this is perhaps the most beautiful expression of twin flame union. Not a perfect fairy tale, but a partnership where two individuals continually help each other become more conscious, more compassionate, and more authentic. A new way of seeing union. When we release the illusion that union is the end of growth, something liberating happens. We stop waiting for perfection. We stop fearing challenges. Instead, we begin to see the relationship for what it truly is. A space where love and evolution can exist side by side. Union is not the moment when everything becomes easy. It is the moment when two people decide to walk the path of growth together. And that decision, renewed again and again over time, may be the most meaningful form of love that exists. In the next chapter, we will explore another essential aspect of twin flame union. Why true union is built not only on love, but also on responsibility. When people first hear about twin flame union, they often focus on the beauty of the connection. They imagine the intensity of recognition, the feeling of finally meeting someone who understands them on the deepest level, and the sense that the universe itself has guided two souls back to each other. And in many ways, those feelings are real. Twin flame union can be one of the most powerful emotional and spiritual connections a person may ever experience. But there is an important truth that is often overlooked. Deep love always comes with responsibility. Not the kind of responsibility that feels like a burden, but the kind that requires awareness, maturity, and conscious choices. Because when two people share such a profound connection, their actions, words, and emotional patterns affect each other more strongly than in ordinary relationships. Love at this level cannot remain careless. It asks both individuals to become more intentional about the way they show up in the relationship. The difference between passion and commitment. At the beginning of many relationships, passion often feels effortless. The connection is exciting. Conversations flow easily. The emotional energy between two people can feel almost electric. Twin flame connections are often even more intense. Many people describe the first encounter with their twin flame as something unforgettable, an immediate recognition that goes beyond logic. But passion alone cannot sustain a relationship over time. Even the strongest attraction eventually encounters the reality of daily life. Schedules become busy. Responsibilities increase. Personal challenges arise. Without commitment, passion slowly fades when confronted with these realities. Commitment is what transforms a powerful connection into a lasting relationship. It is the choice to remain present not only when love feels easy, but also when it requires patience and effort. And in twin flame union, commitment takes on an even deeper meaning. Because both individuals are not only responsible for loving each other, they are responsible for protecting the space where that love can grow. Emotional responsibility. One of the most important responsibilities within any relationship is emotional awareness. Many conflicts in relationships do not happen because love is absent. They happen because emotions are misunderstood, ignored, or projected onto the other person. Imagine a moment where one partner feels overwhelmed after a stressful day. Without awareness, that stress might turn into irritability or silence. The other partner may interpret that reaction as rejection or distance. Suddenly, a small emotional shift creates unnecessary tension. But emotional responsibility changes the dynamic. Instead of reacting unconsciously, a person becomes capable of recognizing their internal state. They might say, "I'm feeling overwhelmed today. I need a little time to process before we talk." This simple act of honesty prevents misunderstanding. It protects the emotional safety of the relationship. Twin flame union invites this level of awareness because the connection itself tends to amplify emotions. Both individuals often feel each other's moods and energies very strongly. Without emotional responsibility, that intensity can become chaotic. With awareness, it becomes a source of deep empathy and understanding. Communication as a sacred practice. In many relationships, communication is treated as something casual. People assume their partner should automatically understand what they mean. But in reality, clear communication is a skill that must be practiced. Twin flame union often reveals how important this skill truly is. Because when two people share a powerful emotional bond, even small misunderstandings can feel significant. One unspoken assumption. One avoided conversation. One moment of silence where honesty was needed. These small moments can slowly create distance if they are not addressed. Healthy communication requires courage. It asks both individuals to speak honestly about their feelings, even when those feelings are difficult to express. It also requires listening, truly listening, without immediately becoming defensive. This kind of communication transforms a relationship. Instead of avoiding conflict, both partners learn how to navigate it with respect and compassion. Over time, communication itself becomes a foundation of trust, respecting each other's humanity. Another responsibility within twin flame union is remembering that even soul connections exist between human beings. Sometimes people place their twin flame on a pedestal. They expect them to be spiritually perfect, always calm, always wise, always emotionally balanced. But no human being can live up to such expectations. Even deeply evolved individuals still experience moments of doubt, frustration, or vulnerability. When unrealistic expectations appear, disappointment often follows. But when both partners accept each other's humanity, something healthier emerges. They stop expecting perfection. Instead, they support each other during moments of weakness. They allow space for mistakes. They encourage growth without judgment. This creates an environment where both individuals feel safe enough to remain authentic. And authenticity is one of the most powerful forms of intimacy, protecting the energy of the relationship. Every relationship has its own emotional atmosphere. Some relationships feel tense and exhausting. Others feel calm and supportive. The difference often comes from how both partners manage the energy they bring into the connection. In twin flame union, this becomes especially important. Because the emotional bond is so strong, negativity can spread quickly if it is not addressed. This does not mean that difficult emotions must be avoided. Anger, sadness, and frustration are natural parts of being human. But both individuals become responsible for how those emotions are expressed. Do they communicate with respect? Or do they allow frustration to turn into blame? Do they take time to reflect before reacting? Or do they speak impulsively in moments of tension? Protecting the energy of the relationship means choosing awareness over reaction. It means remembering that every interaction shapes the emotional environment of the connection. Love as a daily choice. One of the most profound realizations about long-term love is that it is not sustained by feelings alone. Feelings change. Some days love feels effortless. Other days it requires intention. Twin flame union is no different. Even the deepest soul connection must be nurtured through everyday actions. Listening when the other person needs support. Showing appreciation instead of taking each other for granted. Making time for meaningful conversations despite busy schedules. Choosing kindness during moments when frustration could easily take over. These choices may seem small, but they accumulate over time. They build a relationship where love is not only felt, but actively expressed. The true strength of union. When people imagine fairy tale love, they often picture a relationship free from effort. But real strength comes from something deeper. It comes from two people who understand that love requires participation. They do not assume the connection will sustain itself automatically. Instead, they nurture it with awareness, respect, and responsibility. And this is where twin flame union becomes truly powerful. Not because it removes the challenges of human relationships, but because it invites both individuals to face those challenges with consciousness. The result is a love that is not fragile. A love that does not disappear when difficulties arise. A love that becomes stronger because both partners choose to care for it. A different kind of love story. When people first begin the twin flame journey, they often imagine the reunion as a magical ending. But the deeper truth is far more meaningful. Union is not the end of the story. It is the moment when the real story begins. A story where love is not simply felt, but practiced. Where two people continue growing while supporting each other's evolution. Where responsibility becomes an expression of devotion rather than obligation. And perhaps this is the greatest lesson of all. The most powerful love is not the one that requires nothing from us. It is the one that inspires us to become better human beings. In the next chapter, we will explore an important question that many people quietly wonder about. Why, even in true twin flame union, moments of conflict can still appear, and why those moments may actually strengthen the connection rather than weaken it. One of the most persistent myths about twin flame union is the belief that once two twin flames finally come together, conflict disappears. People imagine that such a spiritually significant connection must exist beyond ordinary relationship struggles. If two souls are truly meant for each other, the thinking goes, they should naturally understand one another without difficulty. There should be no misunderstandings, no disagreements, no emotional friction, just harmony. But real twin flame union does not look like that. And surprisingly, the presence of conflict does not mean the connection is broken. In many cases, it means the relationship is becoming more real. The misunderstanding about harmony. Harmony is often misunderstood. Many people believe harmony means the absence of tension. But true harmony is not about avoiding tension. It is about learning how to move through it with awareness. Think of music for a moment. A beautiful piece of music does not consist of a single note played endlessly. It contains different tones, variations, and sometimes even moments of tension before the melody resolves. Without those contrasts, the music would feel empty and repetitive. Relationships work in a similar way. When two people share their lives, differences naturally appear. Different perspectives, different emotional reactions, different ways of handling stress. These differences do not automatically destroy harmony. When approached with maturity, they can actually deepen understanding. Why twin flames can trigger each other. The twin flame connection is often described as a mirror. But mirrors do not only reflect the beautiful parts of ourselves. They also reveal what we may prefer not to see. Even after years of personal growth, certain emotional patterns can remain hidden until a relationship brings them into the open. For example, one partner might carry a subtle fear of abandonment from childhood experiences. The other partner might have learned to withdraw emotionally during stressful situations. Individually, these patterns may seem manageable, but within the relationship, they can interact in powerful ways. If one partner pulls away during stress, the other may feel that old fear of abandonment being triggered. Suddenly, a small moment of distance can feel much larger than it actually is. This does not mean the connection is unhealthy. It means the relationship has revealed something that still needs understanding. And awareness creates the opportunity for healing. Conflict is not the same as incompatibility. In modern relationship culture, there is often an assumption that conflict means two people are incompatible. Many people believe that if love is truly right, everything should feel easy all the time. But long-term relationships rarely work that way. Even couples who deeply respect and love each other experience moments of disagreement. Different opinions are natural. Different emotional needs are natural. Different communication styles are natural. Compatibility is not defined by the absence of conflict. It is defined by how two people handle conflict when it arises.
Do they shut down and withdraw?
Do they attack each other defensively? Or do they remain curious and open to understanding? Twin flame union invites the third option. It encourages both individuals to see conflict not as an enemy, but as a signal. A signal that something important is asking to be understood. The courage to stay present. When conflict appears, the easiest reaction is often to escape. Some people avoid difficult conversations entirely. Others react impulsively and say things they later regret. Both responses create distance. But conscious relationships require a different kind of courage. The courage to stay present. Staying present does not mean tolerating unhealthy behavior. It means approaching the situation with emotional awareness rather than fear. Instead of asking, "How do I win this argument?" the question becomes, what is really happening here? What does my partner need in this moment? What am I feeling beneath my initial reaction? These questions slow down the emotional intensity and create space for understanding. And that space is where real connection can grow. Learning each other's inner worlds. One of the most valuable outcomes of working through conflict is the discovery of each other's emotional landscape. Many people assume that because twin flames share a deep soul connection, they will automatically understand each other's feelings. But emotional understanding still requires communication. A partner cannot always guess the meaning behind silence. They cannot automatically know which experiences from the past shaped certain reactions. When conflicts are approached with openness, both individuals begin to learn more about each other. They understand which situations create anxiety. They learn which words offer comfort. They recognize patterns that previously went unnoticed. Over time, this understanding creates a stronger emotional foundation. The relationship becomes a place where both people feel increasingly seen and understood. Conflict as a path to growth. When handled with maturity, conflict can become one of the most transformative forces within a relationship. It reveals areas where personal growth is still possible. For example, a disagreement may highlight the need for clearer boundaries. A misunderstanding may reveal the importance of expressing emotions more openly. A moment of tension may encourage both partners to develop deeper patience. Instead of weakening the connection, these moments strengthen emotional intelligence. They teach both individuals how to navigate complexity together. And that skill becomes invaluable as life continues to present new challenges. The difference between destructive and constructive conflict. Of course, not all conflict is healthy. Destructive conflict involves blame, disrespect, or attempts to control the other person. It creates emotional wounds rather than understanding. Constructive conflict, on the other hand, focuses on resolution. Both individuals remain respectful. They listen as much as they speak. They try to understand rather than simply prove themselves right. This type of conflict does not damage the relationship. In many cases, it actually increases trust, because both partners see that the connection is strong enough to survive honest conversations. The strength of a relationship that can handle truth. Many relationships fail not because people do not love each other, but because they are afraid of difficult conversations. They hide their real feelings. They avoid addressing problems. They hope silence will somehow keep the peace. But silence often creates distance rather than harmony. Twin flame union invites something different. It encourages a relationship where truth can be spoken without fear of rejection, where vulnerability is welcomed instead of judged, where both partners trust that honesty will strengthen the bond rather than destroy it. This kind of openness is rare, but when it exists, the relationship becomes incredibly resilient. Conflict does not erase love. Perhaps the most important thing to remember is this. Conflict does not erase love. Two people can deeply care for each other and still experience moments of frustration or misunderstanding. These moments are part of the human experience. What truly defines the relationship is how those moments are handled. Do they lead to deeper understanding? Or do they create emotional distance? When both partners choose awareness, even difficult conversations can become stepping stones toward greater intimacy. A deeper form of harmony. True harmony is not the absence of conflict. It is the ability to navigate conflict without losing respect, compassion, or love. Twin flame union does not create a perfect relationship. It creates the possibility for a conscious one. A relationship where both individuals continue learning how to love each other more deeply over time. And when conflict is approached with that mindset, it stops being something to fear. Instead, it becomes another part of the journey, one that helps transform connection into lasting partnership. In the next chapter, we will explore another powerful truth about twin flame union. Why real union requires both individuals to maintain their independence while still nurturing the relationship they share. One of the most important lessons within twin flame union is learning how to balance closeness with individuality. At the beginning of a powerful soul connection, it can feel natural to want complete unity. The emotional intensity between twin flames is often so strong that both people may feel drawn to spend as much time together as possible. The connection feels rare. It feels sacred. And after a long period of separation, reunion can create a strong desire to remain close at all times. But as the relationship continues to evolve, a deeper realization slowly emerges. True union does not erase individuality. Instead, it requires both people to maintain their independence while still nurturing the bond they share. This balance is one of the foundations of a healthy and lasting relationship. The difference between unity and fusion. When people hear the word union, they sometimes imagine a complete merging of two lives. They picture two people becoming almost inseparable, thinking the same thoughts, making every decision together, and sharing every moment. But this kind of fusion can actually weaken a relationship over time. When individuality disappears, personal growth often slows down. One partner may begin sacrificing their own dreams to maintain harmony. The other may feel pressured to meet expectations they never consciously agreed to. Eventually, the relationship can begin to feel restrictive rather than supportive. True union is not about losing yourself inside the connection. It is about creating a partnership where both individuals remain whole. Two complete people choosing to walk together. Not two incomplete halves trying to become one. Why independence strengthens love. Independence within a relationship does not mean emotional distance. It means maintaining a healthy sense of self. Each person continues pursuing their own interests, goals, and personal development. One partner might feel passionate about creative work. The other might feel inspired by leadership or service. Each individual still has their own friendships, hobbies, and personal time for reflection. Far from weakening the relationship, this independence often strengthens it. When both individuals maintain their personal growth, they bring new experiences and perspectives into the relationship. Conversations remain dynamic. Curiosity remains alive. The connection continues evolving rather than becoming stagnant. Love becomes a meeting point between two evolving lives. The danger of emotional dependency. One of the subtle risks in intense spiritual connections is emotional dependency. Because the twin flame bond can feel so powerful, some people begin to believe that their partner is the source of their happiness or emotional stability. This belief can slowly create pressure. If one person feels responsible for maintaining the other's emotional state, the relationship becomes heavy. Moments of natural distance may suddenly feel threatening. A partner's busy schedule might be interpreted as rejection. Small misunderstandings can become magnified. But healthy love cannot exist within dependency. Each person must remain responsible for their own emotional well-being. The relationship becomes a space for support, not a replacement for inner balance. When both individuals understand this, the connection becomes lighter. Love flows naturally rather than being weighed down by expectations, creating space for personal growth. Another reason independence is essential is that growth often requires solitude. There are moments in life when a person needs time to reflect, to think deeply about their direction, to reconnect with their inner world. Without space, this process becomes difficult. When relationships allow room for personal exploration, both individuals can continue evolving. They learn new skills. They gain fresh perspectives. They deepen their understanding of themselves. When they return to the relationship, they bring that growth with them. The connection becomes enriched rather than confined. Trust as the foundation. Maintaining independence within a relationship requires trust. Without trust, personal space can easily be misunderstood. One partner may worry that distance means disinterest. The other may feel guilty for needing time alone. But trust transforms the meaning of independence. Instead of seeing personal space as a threat, both individuals recognize it as part of a healthy dynamic. They understand that love does not require constant proximity. Two people can remain deeply connected even when pursuing different activities. In fact, the ability to support each other's independence often reflects the strength of the relationship itself. Growing side by side. Imagine two trees growing in the same garden. Their roots reach into the same soil. They share the same sunlight and rain. But each tree still grows in its own direction. If they were forced to grow in exactly the same shape, both would become weak. But when they grow naturally, they create a balanced ecosystem. Their branches provide shade. Their roots stabilize the soil. Their presence enhances the beauty of the entire garden. Relationships function in a similar way. Twin flame union is not about two people becoming identical. It is about two individuals growing side by side, supporting each other's strength. The freedom to be authentic. One of the greatest gifts of independence within a relationship is the freedom to remain authentic. When individuals feel pressured to conform to their partner's expectations, they may slowly hide parts of themselves. They avoid expressing certain opinions. They suppress interests that feel misunderstood. Over time, this creates emotional distance. Authenticity disappears. But when both partners respect each other's individuality, authenticity becomes safe. Each person feels free to express their true personality. They can disagree respectfully. They can pursue passions that are uniquely theirs. And because authenticity is allowed, the relationship becomes more honest and vibrant. Love that expands rather than restricts. At its highest expression, love should expand a person's life, not limit it. Twin flame union has the potential to become exactly that. a relationship where both individuals feel encouraged to grow into their fullest potential. Instead of holding each other back, they inspire progress. Instead of fearing change, they support it. Instead of demanding constant attention, they celebrate each other's independence. This dynamic creates a powerful balance. Closeness without suffocation. Freedom without disconnection. It is not always easy to maintain, but when it exists, the relationship becomes incredibly resilient. The true meaning of partnership. Ultimately, twin flame union is not about merging identities. It is about forming a partnership. A partnership where both individuals stand strong on their own while also supporting each other. They walk together, but they do not lose themselves in the process. They share love, but they also respect personal space. They grow individually while nurturing the connection that brings them together. This balance may not resemble the fairy tale version of love many people imagine, but it creates something far more meaningful. A relationship where both individuals remain alive, evolving, and authentic. The beauty of two whole individuals. When two people maintain their independence while nurturing their connection, something remarkable happens. Love becomes a choice rather than a necessity. Each person remains capable of standing on their own, yet they choose, again and again, to walk the path together. This choice creates a form of love that is both powerful and free, not based on dependency, not sustained by fear, but rooted in mutual respect, growth, and shared purpose. And this is one of the most beautiful expressions of twin flame union. Not two people losing themselves in each other, but two whole individuals discovering how to grow side by side. In the next chapter, we will explore another essential truth about this journey. Why patience and time play a crucial role in the evolution of twin flame union. In many spiritual discussions about twin flame union, the moment of reunion is often described with a sense of urgency. People wait for it. They hope for it. Sometimes they even feel that once the reunion finally happens, everything should immediately fall into place. After all, if two souls are truly meant to be together, why should anything take more time? But life, and especially relationships, rarely unfold according to our expectations of speed. One of the most important truths about twin flame union is that time continues to play a crucial role, even after two people find their way back to each other. In fact, patience becomes one of the most valuable qualities within the relationship, because deep connections do not grow instantly. They evolve. The illusion of instant perfection. When two twin flames reunite after a long period of separation, the initial phase can feel magical. There may be a sense of relief, a feeling that something unfinished has finally come full circle. The emotional recognition between the two people can feel incredibly strong. And in those early moments, it may seem as if everything is perfectly aligned. But as time passes, everyday life gradually reappears. Responsibilities return. Personal challenges surface. Emotional differences become more visible. At first, this can feel surprising. Some people wonder why the connection is not permanently effortless. But this is simply the natural rhythm of relationships. Even the most meaningful connections require time to settle into reality. Building a life takes time. A strong relationship is not only about emotional connection. It also involves building a shared life. And building anything meaningful always takes time. Two people may need to adjust their routines. They may need to find balance between work, personal goals, and the relationship. They may need to navigate practical decisions about living arrangements, family dynamics, or long-term plans. None of these processes happen instantly. They require conversation, reflection, sometimes compromise, and sometimes patience when both individuals are still discovering how their lives can fit together. This stage can feel slow compared to the excitement of reunion, but it is also where the foundation of the relationship is truly built. Emotional growth is gradual. Another reason patience is essential is that emotional transformation rarely happens overnight. Even if both individuals have done deep inner work during separation, growth continues after union. New situations can reveal areas where further understanding is needed. For example, One partner may still be learning how to communicate emotions more openly. The other may still be practicing trust after past relationship experiences. These lessons do not disappear simply because love exists. They unfold gradually. When patience is present, both individuals allow space for this growth to occur. They recognize that emotional maturity develops through experience, not pressure. And when growth is allowed to happen naturally, the relationship becomes more stable, learning each other over time. Even when two souls feel deeply connected, truly knowing another person still takes time. Twin flames may share a profound sense of familiarity, but they are still individuals shaped by unique life experiences. Their childhoods may have been very different. Their personal challenges may have influenced how they respond to stress, love, or vulnerability. Understanding these layers requires observation and empathy. It requires time spent listening, sharing stories, and witnessing each other's reactions in different situations. Over months and years, this understanding becomes deeper. The relationship slowly evolves from initial recognition into true companionship. And this transformation cannot be rushed. The role of patience during difficult moments. Patience becomes especially important during moments of difficulty. When misunderstandings occur, the instinctive reaction may be frustration. One partner might expect the other to change quickly, or they may believe that love should automatically solve the problem. But growth does not happen through pressure. It happens through awareness and time. Patience allows both individuals to step back from immediate emotional reactions. It creates space for reflection rather than impulsive decisions. It reminds both partners that transformation is a process. Without patience, small conflicts can become larger than they need to be. With patience, those same conflicts can lead to deeper understanding. Trusting the pace of the journey. One of the hardest lessons for many people on the twin flame path is learning to trust the natural pace of the relationship. Human beings often want certainty. They want to know exactly where the relationship is going and when certain milestones will happen. But love rarely follows a fixed timeline. Sometimes the relationship moves quickly. At other times, it slows down so both individuals can integrate new experiences. These slower periods are not failures. They are often moments of quiet growth. Moments where emotional understanding deepens beneath the surface. Learning to trust this rhythm allows the relationship to develop organically. Patience creates emotional safety. Another beautiful effect of patience is the emotional safety it creates. When both partners feel that they are allowed to grow at their own pace, pressure disappears. They no longer fear making mistakes. They no longer feel rushed to become someone they are not yet ready to be. Instead, they feel supported, encouraged, accepted for where they are in the moment. This atmosphere of acceptance makes it easier for both individuals to open their hearts fully. And openness is one of the key ingredients of lasting intimacy. Time strengthens love. Many people believe that intense love should always feel dramatic. They expect passion to remain constantly at its highest level. But long-term love often evolves into something quieter, something deeper. Over time, trust grows. Shared experiences accumulate. Both partners begin to understand each other in ways that words cannot fully express. The relationship becomes less about intense emotional peaks and more about steady companionship. A sense of calm replaces the need for constant excitement. And in many ways, this calmness is the true strength of the connection, because it shows that love has moved beyond temporary emotion into lasting commitment. The wisdom of slow growth. In nature, the strongest structures often develop slowly. A tree that grows too quickly may become fragile, but a tree that grows steadily over many years develops deep roots and strong branches. Relationships follow a similar pattern. When love is given time to mature, it becomes resilient. It gains the ability to withstand life's challenges. Twin flame union is no exception. The connection may begin with intense recognition, but its true strength is built through shared time and patience. A love that evolves with time. When two people accept the role of patience in their relationship, something profound happens. They stop trying to rush the future. They stop measuring love by how quickly everything becomes perfect. Instead, They begin appreciating the gradual unfolding of the connection. Each year adds new layers of understanding. Each challenge offers opportunities for growth. Each shared moment becomes part of a larger story. This kind of love does not rely on constant intensity. It relies on presence, on commitment, on the quiet confidence that the relationship will continue evolving with time. And perhaps that is one of the greatest lessons of twin flame union. Not that love happens instantly, but that the most meaningful love is the one that continues growing long after the moment of reunion. When people imagine twin flame union, they often focus on the intensity of love and the deep sense of connection between two souls. They imagine understanding, harmony, a bond so powerful that nothing could truly disturb it. But every relationship between human beings, no matter how spiritually profound, will eventually encounter moments of misunderstanding, disappointment, or emotional pain. Even twin flames can unintentionally hurt each other, not because the love is false, but because both individuals are still human. They carry histories. They carry emotional wounds from earlier chapters of life. They carry habits that developed long before they met each other. And this is where two powerful qualities become essential for sustaining the relationship: forgiveness and compassion. Without them, even the strongest connection can become weighed down by resentment. With them, love has the space to grow deeper through every challenge. The reality of human imperfection. One of the most important realizations within twin flame union is accepting that spiritual connection does not eliminate human imperfection. It is easy to imagine that because the bond feels so extraordinary, both individuals should always behave perfectly, always patient, always understanding, always emotionally balanced. But expecting perfection from another person is one of the quickest ways to create disappointment. Every human being experiences moments of stress, fatigue, or emotional confusion. Even people who are deeply committed to personal growth sometimes react impulsively. Sometimes they say things they later regret. Sometimes they misunderstand the feelings of the person they love. These moments do not erase the connection. They simply remind us that love exists between two evolving individuals. And evolution always includes moments of learning. The role of forgiveness. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. Some people think forgiveness means ignoring hurt or pretending that nothing happened. Others believe it requires suppressing their own feelings in order to maintain peace. But true forgiveness is something much healthier. It begins with acknowledging the pain honestly. It allows space for conversation and understanding, and then it releases the emotional weight of resentment. Holding on to resentment can slowly damage even the most meaningful relationships. Unresolved frustration builds quietly over time. Small disappointments accumulate. Eventually, those unresolved emotions begin to influence how partners see each other. Forgiveness interrupts that cycle. It allows both individuals to move forward instead of becoming trapped in past mistakes. Compassion for each other's journey. Compassion is closely connected to forgiveness. It is the ability to see another person not only through the lens of their mistakes, but also through the lens of their struggles. Every individual carries experiences that shaped who they are. Childhood environments, past relationships, moments of loss or rejection. These experiences often influence how people respond emotionally. For example, someone who grew up in an environment where emotions were rarely expressed may struggle with vulnerability. Another person who experienced abandonment may feel heightened sensitivity when their partner becomes distant. Compassion recognizes these deeper layers. Instead of reacting only to the surface behavior, it asks a more understanding question. What might this person be carrying inside that influences their reaction right now? This question transforms judgment into empathy. And empathy allows healing conversations to occur. The courage to apologize. Forgiveness also requires humility. Within any relationship, both individuals will eventually make mistakes. No one communicates perfectly at all times. No one responds ideally in every emotional situation. The ability to apologize sincerely is one of the most powerful expressions of respect within a relationship. A genuine apology acknowledges responsibility without defensiveness. It communicates. I recognize that my actions affected you, and I care enough about our connection to make things right. This simple act can dissolve tension that might otherwise grow into larger conflict. When both partners feel safe admitting mistakes, the relationship becomes more honest and resilient, letting go of the need to be right. Another challenge that often appears in relationships is the desire to prove oneself correct during disagreements. Arguments can quickly become battles of perspective. Each person focuses on defending their interpretation of events. But this approach rarely leads to deeper understanding. Instead, it often leaves both partners feeling unheard. Forgiveness and compassion shift the focus away from winning arguments. They encourage a different priority: understanding the emotional experience of the other person. Sometimes both individuals may hold valid perspectives. Both may have interpreted the situation differently based on their feelings and experiences. Recognizing this allows the conversation to move from conflict toward connection, healing together. One of the most beautiful aspects of practicing forgiveness and compassion within twin flame union is the opportunity to heal together. When both partners approach difficulties with empathy, the relationship becomes a safe environment for emotional growth. Instead of fearing mistakes, both individuals feel encouraged to learn from them. Instead of hiding vulnerabilities, they feel supported in expressing them. Over time, this dynamic strengthens trust. Trust grows not because the relationship avoids challenges, but because both partners know they can navigate those challenges with kindness. This kind of trust is incredibly powerful. It creates a sense of emotional security that allows love to deepen over time. Compassion for yourself. While forgiveness and compassion toward a partner are essential, another equally important aspect is compassion toward oneself. Sometimes individuals are extremely harsh with themselves after making mistakes in a relationship. They replay conversations repeatedly in their minds. They feel guilt or shame for moments when they could have acted differently. But growth does not come from self-punishment. It comes from awareness. Self-compassion allows individuals to acknowledge their imperfections while still believing in their ability to grow. When both partners practice this mindset, the relationship becomes a space where personal development feels safe rather than intimidating. The power of choosing love again. Perhaps the most meaningful aspect of forgiveness is that it represents a conscious decision. Every time forgiveness occurs, both partners are essentially choosing the relationship again. They are deciding that love is more valuable than pride, more valuable than resentment, more valuable than the desire to remain emotionally distant. This choice strengthens the bond between them, because it shows that the connection is not fragile. It can withstand honest mistakes and still move forward. Love that grows through understanding. Over time, the practice of forgiveness and compassion transforms the relationship. Instead of fearing conflict, both individuals begin to trust their ability to resolve it. Instead of assuming the worst intentions, they approach each situation with curiosity and empathy. The connection becomes more stable, more mature, more deeply rooted in respect. And this maturity reveals something important about twin flame union. It is not simply a spiritual concept. It is a living relationship between two human beings learning how to love more consciously. The beauty of compassionate love. When forgiveness and compassion become part of the relationship, love evolves into something profound. It becomes patient. It becomes understanding. It becomes capable of embracing both light and shadow. This kind of love does not rely on perfection. It thrives through growth. And perhaps this is one of the greatest truths about twin flame union. The strength of the connection does not come from never hurting each other. It comes from the willingness to heal together when hurt occurs. As the journey of twin flame union continues to unfold, many couples begin to notice something unexpected. At first, the relationship may feel focused primarily on emotional connection, understanding each other, healing past wounds, and learning how to build a stable partnership. But over time, another dimension often begins to emerge. A sense that the relationship is not only about the two individuals involved. A sense that their connection may also serve something larger than themselves. This does not necessarily mean a grand spiritual mission or a dramatic life purpose. Instead, it often appears in quieter but equally meaningful ways. A shared desire to contribute to the world, a mutual commitment to growth, a feeling that together they can create something meaningful that neither of them could have created alone. This is where shared purpose begins to play an important role in the evolution of twin flame union. From personal healing to collective growth, during the early phases of the twin flame journey, much of the focus is inward. Both individuals are confronted with their own emotional patterns, fears, and unresolved experiences. The relationship itself acts as a mirror, encouraging deep self-reflection. But once the relationship stabilizes, attention often begins to shift outward. The question changes. Instead of asking only, "How can we understand each other better?" another question emerges. What can we build together? This shift is subtle but powerful. The relationship begins moving beyond personal healing into the realm of shared creation. Two people who have developed emotional awareness and mutual respect now have the opportunity to combine their strengths. And when this happens, their connection often gains a new sense of meaning, the strength of complementary energies. Twin flames are often described as energetic counterparts. While they share a deep spiritual resonance, their personalities and abilities are frequently complementary rather than identical. One partner might naturally excel in communication. The other might possess strong analytical or organizational skills. One might be visionary and imaginative. The other might bring practical focus and structure. When these differences are embraced rather than resisted, they create a powerful dynamic. Instead of competing, both individuals begin supporting each other's strengths. They recognize that their differences are not obstacles. They are resources. And through collaboration, they can accomplish more than either person could achieve alone. Shared purpose does not have to be grand. It is important to understand that shared purpose does not always mean a dramatic or public mission. Some couples believe that twin flames must work together on large spiritual projects or global initiatives. While that may be true for some, purpose often expresses itself in much simpler ways. It might appear through the way two people support each other's dreams, through the environment they create within their home, through the kindness they offer to the people around them, through creative projects, acts of service, or meaningful work in their communities. Purpose is not defined by scale. It is defined by intention. When both individuals feel that their relationship contributes something positive to the world, even in small ways, the connection gains a deeper sense of fulfillment, supporting each other's individual paths. Another important aspect of shared purpose is recognizing that both individuals still maintain their own personal goals. Purpose does not require both partners to pursue identical careers or activities. Instead, it often involves supporting each other's unique paths. One partner may focus on artistic expression. The other may dedicate their energy to leadership, teaching, or community service. Even if their professional lives differ, they can still encourage and uplift each other. This mutual support creates a powerful dynamic. Each person knows that their partner believes in their potential. They feel motivated not only by personal ambition, but also by the shared vision of growth within the relationship. The relationship as a source of inspiration. When a couple develops a strong sense of shared purpose, the relationship itself becomes a source of inspiration. Both partners feel energized by the knowledge that they are building something meaningful together. Challenges feel more manageable because they are faced with a shared mindset. Success becomes more rewarding because it is celebrated together. This sense of inspiration can influence many areas of life. It may encourage creative ideas. It may motivate new projects. It may strengthen the desire to contribute positively to the lives of others. Instead of draining emotional energy, the relationship begins to generate it, navigating differences in vision. Of course, even within strong relationships, partners may not always share the exact same vision for the future. One person may feel drawn toward a particular path, while the other feels uncertain. In these moments, communication becomes essential. Shared purpose does not require complete agreement on every decision. What it requires is respect for each other's perspectives. Sometimes the best approach is compromise. Other times it involves supporting each other's individual pursuits while maintaining the core connection. Patience plays a role here as well. Over time, new opportunities often emerge that align both individuals more clearly. What matters most is maintaining openness and mutual encouragement. Growth through collaboration. One of the most rewarding aspects of shared purpose is the opportunity to grow through collaboration. Working together toward a meaningful goal often strengthens emotional bonds. Partners learn how to solve problems as a team. They develop trust in each other's abilities. They celebrate achievements together. Even challenges become opportunities to deepen cooperation. Through these experiences, the relationship evolves beyond romance into true partnership. Two individuals who once walked separate paths now create a shared journey. Purpose creates long-term stability. Another powerful benefit of shared purpose is the stability it brings to a relationship. When love is based solely on emotional intensity, it can sometimes fluctuate with changing circumstances. But when the relationship also includes shared goals and values, it gains a stronger foundation. Both partners feel invested in the future they are building together. They are not only connected through feelings, they are connected through vision. This shared direction helps the relationship remain resilient during difficult times. When challenges arise, both individuals remember why they are walking the path together. A partnership that expands beyond the self. At its highest expression, twin flame union becomes more than a private connection. It becomes a partnership that radiates outward. The compassion developed through their journey influences the way they interact with others. The lessons they have learned about communication and understanding benefit the people around them. Their relationship becomes a quiet example of conscious love, not perfect, but authentic, not free from challenges, but strengthened through growth. And in this way, the relationship contributes something meaningful to the world. The deeper meaning of shared purpose. When two individuals align their intentions and support each other's growth, their connection evolves into something remarkable. Love becomes more than an emotional experience. It becomes a source of creation, a source of inspiration, a source of contribution. And this deeper dimension reveals an important truth about twin flame union. The connection is not only about finding each other. It is about discovering what becomes possible because they found each other. After everything we have explored, one truth becomes increasingly clear. Twin flame union is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of a new one. Many people imagine union as the final reward after years of longing, healing, and separation. They picture a moment where everything suddenly falls into place, where love becomes effortless, where misunderstandings disappear, and where life finally feels like a perfect fairy tale. But the real meaning of union is far deeper than that. Union is not a magical ending. It is a conscious beginning. It is the moment when two people who have walked through fire individually decide to walk forward together, not as two halves seeking completion, but as two whole beings choosing partnership. And that choice changes everything. Love without illusions. One of the most profound shifts that happens before true union is the disappearance of illusion. Earlier in the journey, the connection can feel overwhelming and mystical. There may be intense attraction, spiritual synchronicities, and moments that feel almost supernatural. These experiences are real and meaningful, but they are only the doorway, not the destination. Real union happens when the fantasy dissolves. It happens when you no longer expect the other person to rescue you from loneliness, fix your emotional wounds, or fill the empty spaces in your life. Instead, you meet them as they truly are. A human being. A person with strengths and fears, clarity and confusion, courage and vulnerability. And the miracle is not that they are perfect. The miracle is that you can see their imperfections clearly and still choose to walk beside them. Not because you need them, but because you respect them. Two whole lives, one shared path. A mature twin flame union does not erase individuality. It strengthens it. Both partners continue to pursue their own growth, their own dreams, and their own purpose. They do not disappear into the relationship. Instead, they bring their fully developed selves into it. This is why healthy union feels very different from the early stages of the connection. There is less obsession, less emotional chaos, less fear of losing the other person. In its place, something quieter appears.
Stability, trust,
And a deep, grounded sense of partnership. Imagine two trees growing side by side in a forest. Their roots remain separate, each drawing nourishment from the earth. Their trunks grow independently, reaching upward in their own direction. But their branches gradually intertwine. They create shade together. They withstand storms together. And over time, the forest around them becomes stronger because they both stand there. That is what true union feels like. Not two lives collapsing into one, but two lives standing strong together. The responsibility of love. Real love is not passive. It asks something of us. When people romanticize twin flame union, they often imagine endless harmony. But what actually emerges in a mature union is something more powerful: shared responsibility. Responsibility to communicate honestly. Responsibility to remain emotionally aware. Responsibility to grow, even when growth feels uncomfortable. This means that conflict does not disappear after union. Disagreements still happen. Different perspectives still arise. Stress from life, work, family, finances, or personal struggles still appears. But the difference is in how those challenges are handled. Instead of reacting from fear, partners learn to respond from awareness. Instead of running away, they stay present. Instead of blaming each other, they ask deeper questions. What is this moment trying to teach us? How can we understand each other better? How can we grow through this rather than break because of it? These questions transform conflict from something destructive into something constructive. And this is where the maturity of the connection becomes visible. A story of growth. Consider the story of Daniel and Maya. After years of separation, they finally reunited. The reunion felt peaceful, not explosive or dramatic like the early stages of their connection. For the first time, there was calm. But within months, real life began to test them. Daniel lost a major opportunity at work. The disappointment left him withdrawn and frustrated. At the same time, Maya was dealing with the pressure of caring for a family member who had become ill. Stress entered the relationship. Small misunderstandings began to surface. Old patterns threatened to reappear. In the past, this kind of pressure might have pushed them apart again. But something had changed. Instead of retreating, they talked. Instead of assuming the worst, they listened. Instead of expecting the other person to solve their problems, they supported each other through them. The challenges did not disappear, but their way of facing them evolved. And slowly, something stronger than romantic excitement began to grow between them. Respect.
partnership,
Trust built not on fantasy, but on shared effort. This is the kind of love that endures. Growth never stops. One of the most beautiful aspects of twin flame union is that it continues to evolve. Even after coming together, both individuals keep discovering new layers within themselves and within the relationship. There are new lessons, new dreams, new directions in life. Sometimes these changes require adjustment and flexibility. Sometimes they require courage to face unfamiliar situations together. But the relationship becomes a space where growth is encouraged rather than resisted. Each partner becomes both a mirror and a supporter. They reflect truth to one another. They challenge each other when necessary. And they celebrate each other's progress. This dynamic keeps the relationship alive and vibrant. Because love is not meant to stay still. Love is meant to expand. The quiet strength of union. Many people expect union to feel dramatic. But those who truly experience it often describe something very different. A quiet strength. A deep sense of peace. It is the feeling of coming home, not because everything is perfect, but because everything feels real. There is comfort in knowing that both people have chosen this path consciously. Not out of desperation, not out of dependency, but out of mutual respect and shared vision. This kind of love does not need constant proof. It does not need grand gestures every day. Its power lies in consistency, in the small moments, in the everyday choices to show up for each other again and again. a question for the soul.
So let me ask you something.
If union is not a fairy tale, if it does not remove every challenge, if it asks both partners to continue growing, communicating, and taking responsibility, would you still want it? Would you still choose that path? Because this is the real question the twin flame journey eventually asks. Not whether you can find the other person, but whether you are ready to build something real with them. Something that requires patience. Something that requires maturity. Something that asks you to love not only when it feels magical, but also when it requires effort. The true gift of the journey. In the end, the greatest gift of the twin flame journey is not simply reunion. It is transformation. Through the challenges, the separation, the healing, and the growth, both individuals become more conscious versions of themselves. They learn emotional awareness. They learn resilience. They learn what real love requires. And when union finally happens, it reflects that transformation. It becomes a partnership between two people who have done the inner work. Two people who understand that love is not something you simply feel. It is something you practice. Every day. Twin flame union is not a fairy tale where life suddenly becomes perfect. It is something far more meaningful. It is the meeting of two souls who have grown strong enough to love consciously. It is a relationship where freedom and commitment coexist, where passion is balanced by responsibility, where growth never stops. And perhaps that is the most beautiful love story of all. Not one written by fantasy, but one created by two people who choose each other again and again, through reality. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on your own journey. Are you waiting for a perfect love story? Or are you preparing yourself to create a real one? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else understand their path. And if you want to explore deeper truths about the twin flame journey, healing, and spiritual growth, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join this growing community of seekers. Because sometimes, the answers we are searching for become clearer when we walk the path together.
Thank you for spending this moment with me. If this message resonated with your soul, remember to subscribe and continue this journey with us here on Twin Flame Journey. And always remember, what is meant for your soul will always find its way back to you.